Well, I don't know about you, but the Christmas holiday was not quite as relaxing as I hoped it would be. As I mentioned at the top of the show, found out Max the dog has cancer. So spent large part of my time in the emergency room, meeting with doctors, vets, technicians, all of that stuff, reading lots of science papers because I used to be a science and technology writer. So when something like this happens, I don't go to the internet, I go to the science papers. And it turns out that the cancer that he has is ultimately going to be fatal. It was in a place that was accessible with an operation, which is good. So we're taking all of this one day at a time. He has fantastic doctors. Actually tracked down his old vet who had started a new practice. Dr. Thornton, if you're in Pittsburgh, I highly recommend her. She just started a new practice. Because Max has these weird things about him. He's always been this dog that, like, the medical tests were just a little bit off of what a normal dog should have. So every time I meet a new doctor, I have to go through all of this stuff because they keep saying it's one thing and it's never this one thing. It's something else. So if you have pets or family members, if you've ever been to doctors and trying to figure something out, you know it's a little stressful as you're waiting. Thank God for therapy, because so much of my instinct when these things happen is to just attack the problem and be relentless and not give anybody time to respond, right? Like when I'm talking to doctors, when they tell me that he's got this cancer, I immediately want to get everything scheduled and everything done, and like I want to know why we can't do it now. And of course, that's just not the way the world works. Other people are also going through things. You have to get signed up and all that kind of stuff. Because of therapy, as those things were starting to bubble up within me, I was able to calm myself down a little bit and just really focus on Max and the dog and all of that stuff, which would have been fine had that been the only thing that was going on in the world. We were supposed to be back last week. We did not come back, one, because he had some doctor stuff that I just had to do, but also the Senate flipped. Democracy came under attack as people descended on D.C. and tried to overthrow the government, and it was just kind of a fucking weird start to 2021 for everybody that thought 2021 was going to be better. You know, like everybody else, I sat and watched that. I actually turned it off for a little bit because one of the things I'm finding is just immersing myself in that stuff 24/7 is bad mentally. There was also nothing that I could do. I had alerts on my phone, so if things started happening, I would be able to tune in and get connected back with everybody. But that, it was crazy stressful. It's crazy stressful. We live in this time where every day seems like the end of the world. I don't know if it's that way around the rest of the world. I get the sense that it's not. I get the sense that this is very unique to us because we're doing this to ourselves, but I don't know. But all of that is to say, I decided to take an extra week off because things needed to be addressed here at the house. I felt like everybody's attention needed to be other places, and throwing new things out into the media sphere at that time, even though they're distracting, even though they're not really related to these things, it just didn't feel healthy. So we took the extra week off, and it's one of the things that we're doing here in the new year, and it's why I'm going from 2 shows to 1 show. And I want all of you to think about how you're going to take care of yourself in this new year as well, because the virus is still here. Even though the election is over, particularly in America, like things are crazy. My friends in England are dealing with Brexit. The whole world is sort of watching these 2 pillars of Western democracy teeter, which has to be terrifying. I know when I talk to my friends in Canada, they're always asking me what's going on. My friends in Europe are always asking me what's going on. So this is very clearly impacting folks. When I'm out on Twitter, particularly in my literary Twitter, I see so many people talking about not being able to create still, right? Like still through the pandemic. I'm in that boat as well. And it seems the best thing to do is to focus not on the everything at large, but on the world that you're in at the moment, right? The place where you are, the people you're around, the art you can create. And it doesn't mean disconnect, like clearly we can't, because we have crazy people storming the Capitol looking to kill congressional people and the vice president. So I'm not saying detach completely, But we do have to carve out those spaces to remind ourselves that, well, yes, that happened. It was 5,000 people. It was 10,000 people. And it wasn't even that many who were in the Capitol. It's very easy to imagine that the entire planet is on fire when really it's not. Doesn't mean that there aren't bad things that we got to pay attention to, but it means that we can't just obsess about those and make that the entirety of our world, because we win by taking care of ourselves. We win by taking care of each other. We win by creating things. We win by continuing to move forward and not letting people drag us into the past. You know, so when Max got cancer and I had already planned to take the 2 weeks off at the end of the year just to recharge, and that happened, I've told folks, like, yeah, it's been difficult because he's my best friend. And there's been moments that I've been on the couch, you know, crying uncontrollably, imagining a day that is inevitably coming. But also then putting that behind me and going, but that's not here today, right? Turning on and watching the Georgia Senate flip blue, which was amazing, right? And you just imagine the work of the activists that they do. And even though that's followed up the next day by these crazy banana people storming the Capitol, less than 24 hours before, we flipped Georgia blue, right? The world is moving forward. And if you just immerse yourself in the media landscape, it's very easy to get caught up in whatever narrative is happening. And that's been part of my thinking about why I want to pull back and just do one a week and not two. Not because what I'm doing has any impact in that media landscape, because we're not talking about politics and things of that nature. But I think it's important for everybody, listeners, authors, writers, creators, everybody, to just give themselves a little space where you just do nothing but breathe and live in the moment. And remember, we're moving forward, even if there are people that want to drag us into the back. So, if all goes well, Max will be with us here in the bunker for a few more years. I hope that you had a good holiday season, whatever or however you celebrate. I hope that the new year, despite its weird as fuck beginning, is shaping up as something that you are excited for, because I feel like this is going to be a good year for us. It's going to be rocky. We're going to have to finish up some stuff, get this virus under control, get President Biden and Kamala work in politics. Hopefully people start to come together after this. And it's time for us to start thinking about what the next part of our lives, what the next part of our world looks like. And I'm very excited to do that with all of you.